Exciting. Also, I love the map. Being cool criminals. Great.
Hey folks, this is the Doskvol Circulation War. This is our first stream, our session 0. So we're going to be doing character creation, crew creation, and essentially game creation here. I am Ben. My pronouns are he, him. You can see all of our Twitter stuff beneath our names. And I am actually really happy because everything has lined up correctly by accident. So nice. I don't have to do anything. We can just go straight ahead. Alex, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Alex. I'm a community mod for a lot of Discord game servers. I do play a lot of tabletop RPGs, sort of not really online. This is like my first kind of online experience. Mainly play one-shots with a bunch of friends. Apart from that, I'm not sure what else I should say. My pronouns are they, them. And I'm looking forward to playing tonight.
Awesome. Do you want to take us away, Lavender?
Sure thing. Hi. I am Adam or Lavender. My pronouns are they, them. And I make a game called Morbidly Bankrupt, which is about being a reality TV star on a reality show that's watched by eldritch horrors that are corrupting the world and using your reality shows to do so. I got to playtest in this past week. That was really good. We're getting close.
Excellent. I'm really excited to play it myself. Brandon, do you want to take it away?
Hi, everybody. I'm Brandon. I'm a poet, science fiction and fantasy writer, aspiring game designer who's working on his own game right now. A really neat thing about trying to start a rock band and using magic to defeat capitalism.
Nice.
It sounds rad, doesn't it?
It really does.
It does. I think we might be playing it here soon.
I look forward to it.
Thank you. And last but not least, Melody.
Hello, I'm Melody. I write things, including history stuff, and sometimes poetry. Sometimes I'm working on too many games at the moment, but in particular on Mighty Wheels, which is about the Russian Revolution. So yeah, hopefully my research works for like both that and for this somehow. Yeah, that's me. She, her pronouns.
Excellent. Okay. So just for everyone's benefit, who has played Blades before?
Too many times.
Okay. Cool. I have as well. But that's all good. Who has everyone's read the rules or has been introduced in some way to the rules?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Over them, yeah.
Okay. Cool. So part of this, I just want to say, like, very first up, don't be worried that you're not like in-depth knowledge with the setting, because a lot of the setting it's sort of like a thin veneer of a setting. There's just enough there to get us going, but for the most part, we will be figuring out what the setting is together. So don't be worried about that sort of thing.
That's actually what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, so am I. I'm really excited to see like just what kind of Duskwall we have. So I will take us over to the table view. Are you all in the Roll20?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm almost there.
You're almost there. Okay, no worries. So we've got our little premise down the bottom here. Does someone want to read that out for me? Who's keen?
I'm happy to.
Okay, yeah, cool. Take it away.
Cool. Okay. Whilst the Skovlan Unity War is over, the seed of rebellion lives on. Inspired by their comrades across the ink-black sea, revolutionaries in Duskwall are ready to light the fire of a popular uprising. They just need a vector for their message. A broadsheet, but are falling out. just as things are getting started, may spell the inevitable collapse of these Duskwall Communists. 2 competing newspapers are starting, and the Doskvol Circulation War is just beginning.
Cool. All right. So that's all any of us know at the moment. We don't know anything else about what this game is going to entail, except that we're pretty sure that we're probably going to be playing in the Coleridge area, or at least starting in the Coleridge area, which on the map is down here. So the first step in character creation is to sort of discuss like the themes of the game that we want to go over. So we've got some obviously lined out there with the premise, but I would like to like hand it over to you folks to talk about anything that you're particularly keen to explore in this game, or anything you want to stay away from. I like to call this a yay-nay list. So things that are on the yay side of the list are things that we sort of like have to include, so they definitely will be in the game in some way. And things that are on the nay side of the list are just things that we're not really interested in. And they can be like hard limits of, we just don't ever want to go out to sea, all right? Or they can be soft limits in like, we're not particularly excited about vampires.
Vampires vs. Communists is pretty good.
Yeah, and that is totally not. Those 2 things do not have to be on the yay-nay list or on either side of them. So like, if you want to be like communist vampires on ships, we can see how that goes. Who knows? Maybe that's what we're playing. So does anyone need like a little bit of a primer on the setting before we go into this sort of like yay-nay list stuff?
That would be useful, I think.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. So Duskwall, the city we're playing in is a is like just in the midst of an industrial revolution. So we've got big factories opening up and stuff like that, and what's sort of spurring on this is like this campaign is the whole turn of the century Birmingham style labor unions are starting up because conditions are pretty horrendous, and these like real world conditions that are horrendous are being added onto the like underlying premise of the world of Blades in the Dark, which is a world in which a long time ago, so long ago that we don't really remember, the gates of death closed. They were closed to us. The sun stopped rising properly, and now the world is shrouded in perpetual darkness with just like brief sunrise and sunset, like kind of twilight that marks the days. And with the gates of death closed, the dead have nowhere to go. So ghosts are now prowling the world, and ghosts are terrifying, eldritchy kind of beings that can possess you, that can devour your own ghost, that can kill you, things like that. They're bad news. And to combat that bad news that is the ghosts, the cities of the Empire were unified by this mysterious emperor figure who used sorcery to keep out ghosts from these cities. But that was a long time ago now, and we don't need to rely on sorcery anymore. Now what we rely on is giant lightning barriers, which if you can see them...
Sounds legit.
Yeah, just that's what you do, right? Sorcery gives over to lightning barriers. So you can see, like, around the sides of this map, these big tower things, that's the lightning barrier. And this lightning is bane to ghosts. They can't cross it without being obliterated. And to power these lightning barriers and to power all of the technology that is burgeoning inside Duskwall and the rest of the Empire during this Industrial Revolution, we use Leviathan oil. And Leviathan oil is the blood of giant sea demons that are immortal and unkillable and just unknowably large, and realistically the Leviathan hunting ships that go out, that's a misnomer. They're more like mosquitoes that kind of just like siphon off a little bit of their blood and then bring it back for processing, and then that powers all of our technology. And that is the backdrop for the Unity War, which is the other key little piece of information for this premise. The Unity War was a sort of a Skovlan War of Independence. Skovlan is the continent to the north of Duskwall. The people there wanted independence away from the Empire because the Empire uses their land to process all of the Leviathan oil, and that causes untold horrors for their people. So they waged war in a very sort of communist revolution way, but they were defeated. They lost. And that was a couple of years ago that they were defeated and re-subjugated into the Empire. But their message hasn't gone away. You have taken it on. Well, you will take it on, and we will see how that goes. So does that make sense to everyone? Is everyone all over that? Cool.
Yeah.
Those of you who have other bits of knowledge of the setting, is there anything that I missed that you would like to add?
I think you got a lot of it.
Okay, cool.
The only thing I was curious about, because I was looking over the book earlier today, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know half of this stuff. The Emperor, what's the Emperor's deal? Is he immortal?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. We believe so.
Right, because in the book it's the evil Emperor. I'm like...
Yeah. The book says that the Emperor is immortal, and the Emperor is some kind of sorcerer, but...
Okay.
Maybe that's a mask. Maybe they do inherit their powers, through their lineage. But maybe they're immortal. Maybe they're a vampire, and everything is really awful. Well, actually, vampires. More awful. Yeah, who knows? I mean, we might find out. That might also be outside of the scope of this game.
But there is an emperor who is as far as we know, some eternal person.
Yes, yeah. And,
okay, cool. As far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know.
As far as we're told is
yeah, because I don't think any of us would have ever met or seen the Emperor sort of thing.
Nope.
This is such a stratified society with the nobility on top and what middle class there is sandwiched in the middle, and then a massive oppressed underclass. So I mean, I don't know what classes you're all from, and we'll find that out during character creation, but
I don't know.
Yeah, don't know yet. Yeah, okay, cool. So that's the brief outline sketch of the world. So I'll bring you folks over to the whiteboard that I've set up for character creation. Because you're all GMs, I don't know if I can actually drag you to a different position. So
you cannot.
I cannot? Okay, cool. Well, then just go to the page toolbar up the top and go over to whiteboard, which is just going to be where we hold any random information that we need for any specific thing.
Sorry, which is this in Roll20?
Yeah, this is on Roll20.
It's in Roll20. It's the little blue
page button.
Pull-out tab thing.
Oh,
right.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Cool.
you can just go and then click on the one that you want.
Mhm.
And yeah, just for everyone watching at home, this all the players are GMs in this. Although I don't think I've had a chance to set you, Melody, as a GM yet. But I will. All the players count as GMs for the purposes of Roll20, just because that's the kind of game that it is, and yeah. So you can see here there is a series of names down the side: Cutter, Hound, Leech, Lurk, Slide, Spider, and Whisper. These are the playbooks. So kind of like classes that we're dealing with, but don't think of them as restrictive as classes. Think of them more like, I don't know, think of them like a pot, and your character is a plant, and it's recently been potted in this pot, but it can soon outgrow that, and we can change the pot around, or we can just choose to have your plant grow to the sides, or crack through the side of it and then grow into a different pot as well. You know, like it's a mold to begin, but it's not restrictive. And then down the bottom here, we have our crew types. And in Blades in the Dark, we have a duality. Your characters are your individual characters that you play, and then the crew is sort of the overarching character for all of you. And really, this is a game about crews. So whilst your character will have, you know, their own individual stories and their own individual actions throughout this, it's the crew that survives. And if a character becomes unplayable, or you just finished playing that character, you can retire them and pick up another character who is a member of the crew. The crew may be larger or smaller. Well, it couldn't be smaller than the number of characters. It may be larger than the number of characters we have. But, you know, the rest can be NPCs, or just we don't care about them. They exist on the sidelines until they're important. There's no strict way to do this. The book is ordered so that you do character creation first and then crew creation. I have had good experiences with doing crew creation first, and it's really up to you folks. Would you like to define who you are going to be playing and then figure out how you all work together, or would you like to figure out like who you all are together and then figure out who you are individually as a part of that?
I don't know. I think crew creates a lot of good context, so I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but I think starting with the crew was a good idea.
Yeah.
I agree.
And we already know like part of the premise of what we are as a crew. Like
Yeah.
so
Just
we have
to
something to
define
kind of
that.
start from there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then let's create our crew. So you can see as part of Roll20 there is a bunch of crew playbooks. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if I can just show these to you and you are forced to see them. Do you see that on your Roll20?
Yep.
Yep. Cool. All right.
Well, I don't think so. What am I supposed to be looking
Yes.
at?
Okay.
The assassins thing just came up on my screen.
It did?
Right, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it didn't, up the top you can just go to the, where is it, collections? No, it is, go to the little newspaper icon, the journal, and you can see the crew playbooks and the character playbooks. So this is a playbook. This is the one for the assassins, obviously, and this is like the character sheet for the crew, essentially. And we will figure out which one we're using and then drag it into our folders and figure out from there. But how about we go in order, starting with you, Alex. We read out each one of the crew types. So just starting from assassins, go down.
Sure. So, The assassins are killers for hire. They execute accidents, disappearances, murders, and ransoms.
Okay. Brandon, do you want to go on?
Bravos, mercenaries, and thugs. They execute battles, extortion, sabotage, and smash and grabs.
Lavender, you're up.
God damn it! You've cornered me into my brand.
That's, you may have noticed me counting the number and then be like, yeah, okay, we'll go in order, yeah.
Cult. Cults are acolytes of a forgotten god. They execute artifact acquisitions, auguries, consecration, and sacrifices.
Okay, and Melody?
Cool. Hawkers, vice dealers. They execute product procurement, covert sales, shows of force, and social events.
And we'll go back. I've talked enough. Alex?
So start with me.
Yeah.
So shadows are thieves and spies. They execute burglaries, espionage, robberies, and sabotage.
Cool. And we'll finish on Brandon.
Smugglers, contraband transporters. They execute clandestine deliveries, territory control, and expeditions outside the city.
Awesome. Okay, so I know what I think you will probably be playing, but I don't want to talk anymore. Do any of them?
This is the part. This is the part where we debate.
Yes.
What kind of crew are we, and why are you not picking hawkers?
I was definitely thinking Hawkers.
Yeah,
Like, that's what
I was too.
That's
The
what
other
feels
way-
the best to me.
I like on one level, I could almost see it going for like most of them, except for maybe Assassin. Like we could definitely be a cult. Like, but the other one I was thinking, like I am inclined towards Hawkers, but if we weren't going to Hawkers, we could Smugglers. I feel like would be another like workable one.
Yeah,
just in
Smugglers
terms of
would
that
be
like
cool.
covert like getting stuff in and out. But I'm definitely leaning towards Hawkers.
Okay.
I think either
Okay.
or is a good idea.
Here, and this is where I mostly agree that we can kind of do anything other than assassins, because I think it would be really interesting, because the overarching kind of narrative of the Doskvol Circulation War, it is the implication that there is a lot of hostility that will literally be deadly in the streets of
Yes.
Duskwall.
Mhm.
But I also think it would be really neat for us to essentially play a crew that does other things for money when we don't know how to get things printed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So maybe we don't like make our kind of money from doing the newspapers. Like that's what we're about. But like
Yeah.
day to day, we like
Yeah.
have to do extortion rackets or something.
Yeah, like the newspaper is our passion project, and we need to do other things in order to make that happen. And I feel like Hawkers would be particularly neat because, like, what if part of our big deal is the only way that we could get people to care about our newspaper in the first place is if we tried to hook them with other things first.
Interesting.
Oh.
I mean, I'm still kind of thinking about how if we are kind of like doing a circulation of like our paper, that like our skills from coming in from the smuggler crew would be essentially really useful for that. So we do our contraband in and out, but at the same time we're also doing distribution of the news.
And if we are connected to like an external group or something, then we might be like getting resources or things in from like this external group back in Skovlan or something.
Gathering intel from there too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I guess is this also like in terms of not just what we do as a group, but like the kind of game that we're going to play? Because Smugglers, I haven't actually read the Smugglers one in detail, but the thing that like says expeditions outside the city, is that kind of like that seems like potentially quite a different game to all of the others, just in terms of it changes like the setting of the game.
Yeah.
Is that like an essential part of the Smugglers, or is that just like an optional
It
thing?
isn't.
Or? Okay.
Let's have
Usually
a look
you're
here.
smuggling inside of Duskwall because Duskwall is pretty locked down and has like a lot of blue coat checkpoints and stuff. So being able to get around those obstacles is really important.
Okay.
Keeping
I also
things
like
cheap
the
and affordable.
Yeah, I also like the territory control aspect because that's relevant to the newspaper stuff as well. Because if there's another faction, we're going to be like kind of fighting with them in the streets for, oh no, this is our corner to sell newspapers on.
And that's very like, as you were saying, Brandon, like that's very tied to the history that we're playing off here, like the Chicago Circulation War that this is based on. That was very much a street corner war, right? Like. We fight over individual street corners and newsstands to sell our papers from. So, yeah, I can see that aspect.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, we forgot to do yays and nays.
Yeah, we did forget to do yays and nays.
Which I'll go first.
Yeah, okay.
Since
Do you have a
don't
yay?
typecast me again, I do have a yay.
Okay.
I want to do street level gang stuff. I don't want to do the thing that Blades usually throws you at, which is like, okay, we're going to take down Skurlock now.
Okay.
The vampire, not the font.
Yes. Sorry?
I was just going to say, I'm really interested in that as well. And like, we kind of talked about there being like two rival newspapers and stuff. I'm really interested in that like conflict, especially if we're like both ostensibly have similar kind of purpose and like shouldn't necessarily be enemies, but we are for whatever reason. And having that like that rivalry, competition, conflict kind of stuff sounds really cool to me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm all about that. I like the idea of sticking sort of low scale, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's.
There are mechanical advantages to staying low scale too. You can start like instead of spending all of your rep on advancing in tier, you can use that for like a ton of extra downtime actions.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay. So sounds like everyone's keen on that. Are there any other like specific things that we want to have or to avoid?
You go, sir. You go. Sorry. I think we started talking at the same time or something. You can go.
What's up, Brandon?
There is a thing that I think I want, which is like I'd want during play to kind of communicate internal conflicts within the movement that we're making as well. That while all of this gang stuff is happening, we're still having conversations about are all of our ideals perfect? Are we maybe shafting women, shafting queer folk, shafting brown people? So like, not only do we have to deal with the fact that we think that this one magazine is the best, but we also have to care very strongly about whether any individual message we're putting in it is probably bad or hostile. And I want to see how that shapes the way that we interact with ourselves and the world.
Yeah, I'm super interested in like what the newspaper is and like what our organization is and like the history of that. You know, surprising no one. Like I'm very curious about like the questions that are going to come up of like, is there a Blades in the Dark Karl Marx? Or like, is this a totally different like kind of story? You know, like what is a communist newspaper in Blades in the Dark? Like, and with the, you know, it's the stuff we need to know straight away. But I'm like interested in that kind of like political context stuff.
Okay, cool. Is everyone keen on that internal ideological conflict?
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. All right, I am absolutely all over that. So I'm very excited for that to be there. Anything else? Does anyone else have any like clear? I know Melody, you were going to say something.
I I think it was just that,
Oh,
like
okay,
pretty
cool.
much that. But like at the same time, like, and I don't think this is likely, given the group, like some, often in like games or pop culture or whatever, when it's like, oh, this is the communist group, it's like all comes down to, oh, they're terrible, like just inherently, who would want to be one of them? And like I'm sort of not interested in that approach. Like I want to critique, the stuff we're doing, but like not be like, oh, we're the bad guys. Like any more than any group in Blades is the bad guys. Like we are bad guys. We're scoundrels. But
Absolutely.
like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not villains. We're just
Yeah.
rascals.
Well, I mean, maybe we are.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. We're probably gonna do some bad shit. Like,
Yeah, probably you're not
Yeah.
villains to begin with, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and like not inherently. Like maybe through the decisions we make. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have mustaches. We just have knives.
Okay, cool.
I don't have any particular kind of nays that come to mind.
All right, cool. Then that's a very, very short yay nay list. We've just got 2 yays. Excellent. So I'll pop them a little bit further up. I'll just pop them in between, so they're referential to both. Okay, so let's get back on that crew building. So, what are we thinking here? Sounds like there's kind of a we liked smugglers, but smugglers have more of expeditions outside the city, which I mean I can see kind of going on with like the taking inspiration from the Skovs to the north, maybe, and like actually smuggling in, communist notables from Skovland, and maybe we're doing that kind of like we're in Berlin and we're trying to smuggle in the Russian revolutionaries and kick this off, right? Maybe it didn't work back home, so let's make it work here and do that kind of like forever revolution.
Ben, you and I earlier discussed Babylon Berlin, and I definitely like having watched that now, like the whole plot with the train that gets captured and like that coming in, like I kind of like that. And also, like, I mean, the way Doskvol's set up as a city with all these like canals and things, like it's kind of perfect for like, having little boats going in at night, like bringing supplies, or like even just moving our newspaper from one place to another. Like my understanding with Coleridge is that it's like if we are based there, is that it's like kind of there's a lot of workers organization kind of stuff happening, but like the reaction to that is that the foremen and like owners and stuff are cracking down, and so we're gonna probably be having to be pretty discreet at times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as you can see here, there is a big train network as well, and the old train yards are in Coleridge, so that is a possibility if we wanted to do something like that. But there was also a lot of talk about hawkers, which, I think that they're the kind of... I think they're the standard thing that we were all thinking of because, you are hawkers, right? But are you something else first, or are you something else in addition to, and the hawker is added on to that? Because again, these crews, whilst they are they frame what kind of game we're going to be playing in the same way that the character playbooks are not restrictive, the crews you can spread out from them. They're a little bit more restrictive than the characters because they really frame kind of like who we are and where we are, but we can still, we could be a cult with, lots of things from the hawkers, or we could be hawkers with some of the special abilities from assassins, or even like bravos with a bit of hawkers going on, like we can mix and match.
So having a look at the actual like stats on the different crews, like the hawkers, a lot of the special abilities don't really sing to me, but the XP trigger seems really relevant, which is sorry, it's just not coming up on my thing for some reason. Oh, there we go. The XP trigger for the Hawkers is acquire product supply, execute clandestine sales, or secure new territory, which all seem like things we're going to be doing in practice.
Exactly.
Whereas the smuggler XP trigger is execute a successful smuggling or acquire new clients or contraband sources, which is still cool, but that's very different and maybe not what we're thinking about actually like doing on a regular basis.
It kind of seems like we're like giving things to like big groups as smugglers, whereas if we're hawkers, if we're giving things to the people who need them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of want to go with layout. I kind of want to go with hawkers at this point, and then we can grab other things from different different crews if we want.
How does that sound to everyone else?
I think so too.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Brandon, you keen on that?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense to me.
Sick. All right. Well, we are playing hawkers then, which means we can go up here and I will drag the hawkers into our crew stuff and just collapse the rest. Cool. All right. So I've got the rulebook going on over here. So I'll flick over to the hawkers section. So as you can see also on the crew creation summary, the first thing we do is we choose a crew type, and that determines your purpose and your special abilities and how you advance and stuff like that. So feel free to open up the Hawkers playbook, and I've just got that open now myself for the stream. I flicked it over to the wrong spot. Okay, cool. So we are Hawkers. Starting off, we have tier 0, which means we are we're very new. We are we're babies on the streets of Duskwall, which is not a great position to be in. It's not tier 0 for no reason, but we have strong hold. So hold is sort of like, as it sounds, it's like your hold on the streets, how much you're able to clamp down on what you already own. And Duskwall is one of those places where like everything is owned, right? There's no part of the city that isn't under the control of one gang or another. Whether that gang are smugglers or drug dealers or the government or the police, they all count as gangs because they just are, in this sense.
Because they are.
Yeah, they just are gangs. They happen to be the most successful gangs, but they are still gangs. Probably most of all, the police, the blue coats, they're very much a gang. So Hawkers, well, I mean, everyone starts with 0 rep. Every new crew starts with 0 rep, and you start with 2 coin. So I will fill that in down here. So your next step is to choose an initial reputation and lair. So this is like how your how the rest of the underworld and probably the rest of like the people who know you. I mean, you're tier 0, so that's probably not that many people. But the folks who do know you, how do they see you? And like there's some options here: ambitious, brutal, daring, honorable, professional, savvy, subtle, and strange. Yeah, I mean, I think to figure this one out, you folks need to have a chat about what your what it means to be your crew, right? Like, why did you become this communist newspaper, and what are we gonna like expect from that on screen?
Yeah, I was wondering if now that we've decided on the crew, would it be helpful to go back to characters and like figure out who we are?
Oh yeah,
That's what I was thinking of too. I was thinking we do the number on the crew first.
Okay.
And then we go from 1 on the 1, and then the 1 on the other, and then the 2.
Oh yeah, bounce back and
sort
forth.
of pattern.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well then, hang on. I just need to count. So
I'm so afraid.
We got 7 here, so that means what? Third up. Okay, so I think we're starting with Melody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we doing now?
We
Sorry. We're reading through things.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Okay,
we're reading
cool,
from
got
Cutter. Yeah.
it. Okay, great. Cool. Cutter. Cutters are good at winning fights with violence and intimidation. Play a cutter if you want to get your way.
Cool. And now we are around to Alex.
Sure. So Hound. Pardon me. Hounds are good at tracking things down and also long-distance combat. Play a Hound if you want to choose your battles.
Brandon.
Leech. Leeches are good at using alchemy and wrecking stuff with sabotage. A leech if you want to be creative with weird tools.
Okay. You up, Lavender?
Lurk. Lurks are good at sneaking around and breaking into places. Play a lurk if you want to slink around in the shadows.
Cool. All right, Melody. This is a weird, like, orchestrating thing. I don't know what's going on here. But Melody, you're up.
Slide. Slides are good at social situations and subterfuge. Play a slide if you want to manipulate and deceive people.
Cool.
All right. So Spider. Spiders are good at masterminding maneuvers. Play a Spider if you want to assist teammates and deal with other factions.
Awesome. And Brandon, you're up last.
Whisper. Whispers are good at magical stuff and dealing with ghosts. Play a Whisper if you want to meddle with arcane powers.
Cool. All right. Now, do any of those pop out to anyone? Is anyone keen on anything in particular? And you can have crossover. Like if 2 people want to play cutters, or if you want to do for some reason 4 spiders, you could do that. That would be the weirdest game ever.
That would be really weird.
It would be really weird.
That's my house. That's my kitchen.
It's like one thing that stands out to me immediately is I think that there are some characters that are beyond our ken in a sense. Like I feel like it would be not merely out of character, but kind of overpowering to have certain kinds of characters on a team like this narratively, in a sense. It'd be kind of weird for us to have a spider in my mind.
Okay.
But like, if only because like I imagine what kind of crew we are, in the sense that what are we doing, where do our motivations come from, not only individually but as a group. And I feel like it would be really cool as a result to play people who are kind of struggling in a sense, just making things up as we go along, receiving orders from other people and just attempting to fulfill them.
But I guess the spiders, like, not necessarily, like, they're the mastermind, but they're not necessarily, like, big picture. They could just be someone who's, like, super well connected and, like, still just be, like, a shitty kind of, like, person on the same level as the rest of us, but, like, they're ambitious, or they just, like, have, you know, some friends that are good at getting shit done for them. And they kind of, like, maybe sit at home, like, you know, planning things out while the rest of us are on escapades or something. So I do think there are ways to make it work.
Just a bit more understated.
So I'm not interested personally in playing either the slide spider or whisper. I'm like leaning towards either the hound or the leech at the moment. So the leech, I think it'd be like a useful and interesting kind of narratively to have someone who is like the person who makes or like produces our ink and stuff, and like actually, you know, manages like the printing press, and that would seems like it'd be a really good fit for the leech. And it would kind of be fun to play like also like a Holtzman like character from the new Ghostbusters movie, Kate McKinnon.
Okay.
Or the other like vague idea I had was like a hound who was like possibly like how long ago was the Unity War?
like a couple of years ago, but it lasted for like 36 years or something like that.
Holy shit, that's a long war.
It's a long war.
Yeah. So the other idea I had was like a veteran from the war.
Cool.
So who maybe like came here like after, rather than as like one of the civilian refugees, like someone who kind of came along like after the war or something along those lines.
Okay. Well, all right. So we've got a maybe hound and or a maybe leech. Is anyone else feeling anything in particular?
I'm actually definitely leaning towards slide.
Okay.
If only because I think it would be kind of neat to play a kind of character who not only is thoroughly averse to physically getting in fights and is constantly frustrated by the fact that violence is surrounding them wherever they go. But I think that especially if we're playing hawkers, it's particularly interesting. It's particularly valuable to have somebody on that team whose job is to try to get people's attention, try to talk people into buying into the cause.
Okay, so we thinking like agitator style slide? Like, would you be standing on top of a soapbox, or are you kind of like the schmoozer sort of slide? What are you thinking?
I imagine that my character will do a little bit of both.
Okay,
but actually
cool.
prefers kind of schmoozing and trying to like subtly win people over instead of hitting them over the face with it, mostly because they see that hitting people over the face with things doesn't work.
Okay, cool. I like that. All right, so we've got
so expect me to get in a lot of
slide.
debates, guys.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Have you heard of our Lord and Savior communism?
Awesome. Okay. Alex and Lavender, what are you thinking?
I have a quick question. How do generally ghosts play out in this universe? Are they like almost certainly always very, very dangerous and very hostile to interact with? Or are they kind of like varied in that they keep their like personalities of the past as such?
So they're always dangerous. It's never something that you want to truck with lightly. And I mean, nothing of the supernatural is something that you want to truck with lightly in this game. But I mean, they're all always illegal as well. Like it's against the law to be a ghost, and it is against the law to truck with ghosts. And that whole thing is like very very outside of what is considered like correct and good. Like the main church of Duskwall is called the Church of the Ecstasy of the Flesh, and they believe in like being human and being alive is all that matters, and they don't have a concept of the afterlife, because when you die, you don't go anywhere, you just stay here, and ghosts are bad, so we destroy ghosts. So have the most pleasure when you're alive, and then we will destroy your ghost when you're dead. But
also your ghost isn't really you, they say.
Yeah, it's and that's kind of like that they have this distinction where like your ghost is just kind of like a weird reflection, like an echo of what kind of thing killed you, or a manifestation from electricity or some kind of bullshit like that. But then at the same point in time, we know that there are ghosts who maintain their personalities. And there are some like really old ghosts that have maintained their personalities for a long time. But most ghosts go crazy very quickly, and become awful and homicidal very quickly. So it can go either way.
If anyone does have anything to do with ghosts, we get to make so many jokes about there being a spectre over Doskvol. So
yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't know, because I was
no, go for it.
Because I was thinking about what it would be like to be a kind of whisper journalist, like someone who was like, because I didn't obviously have an understanding of ghosts at the time, but interesting enough, sort of gathering intel from ghosts and what they know from, you know, stuff that we can't observe. Maybe, I don't know how, if ghosts can sort of go in and out of Duskwall, I'm not really sure, but maybe getting ghosts from the Unity War and having that kind of information coming in and out. And that, of course, being really dangerous. But yeah, I wanted to know if that was an interaction.
Do we hang out with the ghost of Blades in the Dark, Karl Marx?
Oh, Ghost of Karl Marx!
This was something I was thinking about the whole time. Like, can I convert a ghost?
Oh.
Can I give this ghost my pamphlet?
Ghost pamphlets! Yeah.
Does the ghost need a union? Like, do you
Yeah, alright. Ghost unions, ghost pamphlets, ghost Karl Marx. I'm all over it.
I mean, this is actually a thing that we can do because Ghost Market is a special ability that that the hawkers have. Where you sell your product to ghosts.
So I'm all over that. I'm so keen on that idea. So if you want to be a whisper,
wanting to interact with that kind of like that ghost area and being a whisper and stuff. So I'm all keen for that.
And whispers can also get into working with demons as well. I mean, everyone can. And demons are kind of like the absolute opposite version of ghosts, whereas ghosts are like, you know, dead and they can't come back and they are shifted and changed because of that. Demons are like super alive, like too alive, and they embody like, you know, parts of like the elements and individual fears, and they're very like Lovecraftian in that kind of way. So, you know, we can see some cool stuff. Maybe we can see some, you know, Ghost of Karl Marx. Maybe we can get like the many tentacled Trotsky. Who knows? Awesome. Okay, so we've got a whisper going on here. That leaves us with you, Lavender. What are you thinking?
I was thinking of also going slide, and I feel like for hawkers having 2 slides is not a bad idea.
Okay. So I guess I'll pitch you the same question. Are you thinking of going like that kind of soapboxy thing, or the schmoozer, or maybe like some other kind of slide completely out from either of them?
I might be an academic.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. It does make a lot of sense that they're like an intellectual kind of in the group.
Yeah.
But then that also raises the question whether I'm actually a spider, because if I look at the spider's actions, they have 2 in consort and 1 in study. Whereas the slide is like all like, I have 1 in consort and 2 in sway, where I'm actually just like trying to logic over you.
Yeah, because, I mean, if we think about it, to me, the spider has always been Giles from Buffy. And that kind of like, you know, then I don't like the whole like they're super masterminds, you know, plotting everything out, but they know things and they know people and they can get things to happen by using other people and like, you know, pushing the dials back and forth. And I mean, if that sounds good to you, I think it would be cool to have a spider. I agree with Brandon that it's a weird thing to have that kind of like true mastermind spider going on.
I agree,
but I can see an academic being involved in this. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll move that little green line down then. Awesome. Okay, so Melody, now that you have heard the wishes of your party folk, does that help you like coalesce on an idea between Hound and Leaf?
Yeah. So I mean, beyond the kind of class, I'm not super sure what the other characters are going to be about, but I am like based on the decision people made, I am kind of interested in playing someone who is again, leaning towards the hound, and I might end up just taking at some stage some of the leech things. Also, like just in terms of our interest in doing the street level stuff, I think it would probably be interesting narratively to have someone who's a bit on the fighty side. Not that like any character can't, but like I guess the hound is one of the classes that specifically that's one of the things they do.
Yeah. We need someone to be, I think, a little bit more aggressive than the rest of us, for sure.
Yeah. They have dots in a violent action, and their violent action can make it so that they can't be like caught very easily because their violent action is hunt rather than like skirmishing, where like everybody sees the fight, you're there. Yeah, because I mean we are a small group, so we're going to have to play clever. At least at the beginning, we're not going to be able to have just like mass brawls in the street because that would get everyone coming down on us. Like we have to be somewhat subtle at least to begin with. So yeah, I think I'll go with the hound. Sorry, Ash.
Awesome. Okay, hound it is. I think it's a good idea to have a little bit more of a martial character as well. And I don't know. I like the idea of we've got these street preachers and then a sniper standing over the top of them watching them. That's a little it's a little creepy, which is perfect for Blades in the Dark. Cool. Okay, so do we want to bounce back to the crew side of things and do number 2 on crew, or do we want to like keep exploring our characters?
What's the next stage for crew generation?
Crew
it's reputation, isn't it?
Reputation and lair. Whereas the next step for characters is like heritage and then background and stuff. So maybe it's better to flesh them out so like we have an idea of who you are just in terms of like kind of where you came from and why you're together, and then that will help us figure out like who the crew is. All right, so
I'm gonna be right back.
Oh, no worries.
Sure.
So for heritage, you detailed your choice with a note about your family life. So if we go to the heritages in the book, where is it here? Who has the book just to go along with, by the way?
I do, but it's in another room.
Okay.
So when we have a break, I'm going to go get it.
Yeah, no worries. I
have the PDF in front of me.
Oh, cool. I can just pop these heritages here. So we should have them on screen. So these are mainly like I mean they're regions, but they're also like the cultures that are going on in this world. And again, they're not restrictive. Obviously, your character can be aberrant of your culture, or they can be, very much the stereotype of their people. What's written down here is the stereotypes of each culture, but we're dealing with massive land masses and really like tightly knit communities here, so that it's not possible for them to all be homogenous. So we've got like Akaros is the main one that we're dealing with here. That's like the imperial culture, and the people of Duskwall themselves, like Duskwall natives are Akarosi, but at the same point in time, like Duskwall was originally a Skovlan colony a long time ago, so you could be Skov, or you could be Akarosi if you're like properly from in a heritage sort of sense from Duskwall. Obviously, you know, there are Aruvians here, and Aruvians are born here, so you can be Aruvian and be from Duskwall, but you would be a minority culture in that instance. Whereas if you are from Akaros, like you're an Akarosi or you're a Skov, you are not necessarily a minority culture. Although Skovs definitely are marginalized, so you know there's still that issue going on here because of the Unity War and because of just the way they are treated by the Akarosi. So yeah, the Akarosi, they're a diverse conglomeration of cultures that have grown together in close proximity for centuries, somewhat like Europe, right? So we're dealing with, I've got the listed names here. We've got like, you know, Penderin and Pritchard and Morriston, those sorts of names coming out of Akaros. Next down, we've got the Dagger Isles. So they're sort of like weird corsair merchant folk who live without lightning barriers. So they have more dealings with sorcery and more dealing with spirits. Then we've got the Eruvians, and Eruvia is the true if we're thinking like turn of the century here, Eruvia is the Ottoman Empire, right? Like, so it's the very different to Europe, but we can't ignore them because they are as strong as us, if not stronger, in a lot of ways. And Eruvia is like nominally partners in the empire. They are part of the empire, but they do not truck with Akarosi culture to the same degree. They also have a much closer relationship with demons and a they don't have as much to do with ghosts as the Akarosi do because of their own culture and the way their own cities are made up. Then we've got the Severosi, who these are like, they're the ones considered wild by the Akarosi, right? So they live like nomadic lives in horse tribes across the Deathlands, like where ghosts reign. And there's like this cultural idea of the Severosi ghost slayers and stuff like that, who have like wicked supernatural spears and stuff like that. But obviously that's, you know, that's Akarosi racism, so that's probably nonsense. Or it might be legit. Maybe everyone's just hectic and you know, slays demons and ghosts just as you do. Then the Skovs, who we've talked about a little bit. So, you know, we've got like the original Duskwall Skov inhabitants. We've got the refugees from the war, and we've got like the sort of the Skovs who have migrated over the years, but like maintained their own culture. I see them as being like a little bit of a mix between like Scottish and Russian, and that seems to be the way that like John Harper and folks have like presented them. And then, you know, right at the other end of the scale, you've got the Taikarosi, who are like from a semi-mythical land north of the Void Sea, who are said to be like part demon, and they all have like a little bit weird about them, like shark eyes, or they have feathers that sprout on their head, you know. So really, that's who you can be if you want to be like touched by the arcane. Is anything jumping out at for anyone in particular there?
I want to be a Skovlan.
Okay, cool.
So do I.
Sweet. All right, two Skovs. Lavender.
I sort of jump back
Yeah.
back into this. Is there a reference I could be looking at right now?
It should be up on stream for you. You can you should be able to open that up. I think it's also in the downloadable sheets from the bladesinthedark.com. Lavender, whilst Alex is looking that up, how are you feeling for heritage?
I was thinking of Dagger Islander, actually.
Cool.
Okay, cool. A Dagger Island, like, because you're thinking of going the academic, right? That'll be interesting.
Yep.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you should have your own playbooks listed down here now in the character section, and we can like rename them so you've got access to them, and you can just start like going ahead and filling that stuff in if you have an idea.
Oh, cool.
Gotta think.
So Alex, have you been able to find them? Because I can
Do you have a
quickly
page reference?
in the
And on the, is it in the player's kit?
it should be in the player's kit. Let's have a look here. I think it's right the last page, but I'll just the last page has a breakdown of the Shattered Isles and the cultures. I might just keep that up on screen.
Yeah.
It's good to have. Oh, I can't have both. Everyone quickly screen cap it. Yeah, so you can have a look through that. So let's have a look here.
Oh, I know what I am. I figured this out.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I went to Duskwall Academy to become a Leviathan hunter captain, but I'm not from a royal family, so I can't actually get the funding to have my own ship. So I just know a bunch of stuff and have a bunch of connections, and I can't do anything with it. So
Okay.
I just have affordable housing in Coleridge.
Okay. So are you like living in the dorms sort of thing? Are you doing that weird thing where the like are you an academic in that you're a student, or are you now like a tutor level thing? What?
I'm probably a tutor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it.
Might be trying to like. I might be making some coin off of like being a tutor to people in Coleridge who don't have access to like charter halls, universities, or White Crown's prestigious academies.
Wait. Okay. So are you teaching at Duskwall Community College? Is that what we're dealing with here? No? Or are you
I'm going to people's little tenements and teaching their kids how to read and write and a little bit more.
Cool.
That's probably pretty
Get
illegal.
them when they're young.
Right? Like, I mean, it's probably not illegal in the sense that there are actually laws about that, but it's probably illegal in the sense that people who are wealthy don't like you doing that, so they call it crime. Awesome. No, I like
As
that.
one does.
Yeah, I like that. Do crime. Cool. All right. So we've got your Dagger Islander. You can just write down. I mean, I don't know how you would define that in the quick stubness that you're supposed to on the sheet, but good luck. So Brandon, what have we got going on here? You've got a okay, so I can see here the Oh no, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. So you're a Skovlander. You're a child struggling. How old are you thinking your character's going to be as this like soapbox preacher?
I think my character is rather young.
Okay.
Probably somewhere like 18 to 21 actually. I'm leaning towards like 20-ish. Like like 20 to 21.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Alex, have you had a look?
Yeah, vaguely.
What are you
Just really
thinking?
I kind of wanted to play an apprentice of some sort, so I don't know whether I want to perhaps be a pupil of Lavender's character, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Lavender, you agreeable to that?
I am.
Awesome.
Are we family members?
Cool. Are you family members, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Alex,
Mhm.
are you?
That'd be cool. I think that would work.
Yeah? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that means we've got
Pretty
two
awesome.
Dagger Islanders? Is that
Yeah.
I put down Dagger Islanders.
because it's the
Yeah.
Dagger Isles, so I guess, yeah. Isles. What's the.
I
Isles,
think
yeah.
I read Dagger Islanders somewhere in the book, just like how you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, native
All these
islanders
entries
are generally copper skinned and dark haired. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they are referred to as islanders. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's looking like we have 2 Skovs and 2 Dagger Islanders, which brings us to Melody. You were thinking that your character was a Skov, and I can see here that you were displaced by the war and are a Unity War veteran.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm thinking like pretty late in the war, and kind of in terms of why this character is a hound rather than a cutter is I'm thinking it's like kind of I assume towards the end of this war, like you've got a lot more. It's not like pitched battles. It's like guerrilla warfare kind of stuff. You know, like bands like living up in the hills and you know, in tents, like coming down and, you know, doing sabotage or like ambushes and that kind of stuff. But also, you know, that's the part of the war where it's like really messy and like, you know, like both sides are more brutal and like fewer kind of hostages and more just kill them, that kind of thing. In terms of family, it's like the suggestions it gave for Skovlander were like, you know, maybe your character's family worked in a factory and then they became refugees. I'm not super sure. I don't really have a strong feeling about like exactly what they were doing before they were displaced, but I think like maybe they were not necessarily like maybe my character's family were displaced while my character was off fighting, and so they ended up as refugees, but I don't really have any particular contact with them at this point.
Okay. Are you looking for them? Like looking for them?
Yeah, I mean, totally. You know, just kind of. I assume that they've ended up somewhere around here. Because you know, when I got home, assuming like I probably went AWOL or something, they weren't there. So, and I don't have any kind of like firm information about it. So, I think that's probably something that I'm going to be doing. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like it. Awesome. Well, I think that's everyone defined for heritage, and a bunch of you have got movements going on your background, which is step 3. So we can quickly talk about that as well. So I can show on these sheets. So the background is like vaguely how you fit into society, and not necessarily how you fit into society, but how your parents fit into society and how you were raised. So we've got academic, labor, law, trade, military, noble, and underworld. And this doesn't necessarily have to reflect who you are now, right? So Lavender, your character is now definitely in the academic sphere of things. And I mean, they could have had that background, or they could have a completely different background. And this sort of manifests in play by, for starters, if you're dealing in a world outside of what your background is, you know, that'll come into play with some penalties to dice, but it also might give you like tactics that other people might not, right? Like if you're dealing in an academic field and you have an underworld background, then you might know ways to manipulate people that academics would never have thought of, because it's just not in their worldview, right? And it also represents, like, you know, the kinds of people you would have consorted with as a child, the circles you would have moved in. So you probably know more people from that field than any of the others. So does anyone have any strong feelings about that?
Already made up my mind
Yep. Where are you
about
from?
anything to do.
Where are
I
you
kind of had a very strong sense of my character's background as soon as I knew what their heritage was.
Okay. What we got going? What's your which of those are you coming from? Trade is what I can see.
Yeah, trade is essentially my beat. Like, I like the idea of my character having grown up in a tradesperson's household and seeing how, like, seeing what little love people have for both tradespersons and Skovlanders literally, like, run their family into the ground financially.
Okay, so
I imagine you're probably the financial brains of the organization. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I actually imagine my character hates money. Is very good, is very good with understanding how money works, but is so turned off by the fact that money greases very nasty wheels that they will do this business and then, like, literally wash their hands after.
I like it though. Like I like that sort of distinction, especially if you do become kind of, you know, the group accountant, right? Like you're in charge of the books because you know how to make sure you don't end up spending any money because you're used to living with nothing, right? But at that same point in time, you hate it. that's kind of a cool dichotomy.
Because, like, I imagine the rest of the crew coming to me and going, "So we need money to do X," and I'm like, "I'm not spending money on this. That's not happening."
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Cool.
That's why we always spend our rep instead of our coin. Never advance street level forever. It's
Never
perfect.
spend coin.
Always asking
Straight
for
level
favors, right? Yeah. Don't spend anything. I like it. Cool. So Lavender, I can see here that you have put down academic. So this, like, you moving into becoming a Leviathan hunter, or at least you trying to become a Leviathan hunter, you came from an academic background as well. So does this mean that, like, your folks were Leviathan hunters, or maybe like navigators or something like that on a hunter ship?
I wrote down for my family life because when you write down your heritage, you write down a note about your family life as well. I wrote down Dagger Islander, Void Sea shipwreckers. So I feel like we went out to the Void Sea and we're just used to it because we're used to living with ghosts because we're from the Dagger Isles, where we don't have lightning barriers. So going out onto the Void Sea without highly technological protections like the Leviathan Hunter ships have is no problem for us because we just have our own ways of dealing with that.
Yeah.
you know, one of these chicken shit Doskvol people, like, with their lightning towers.
They're like
Big fancy boats.
And we also do things that Leviathan Hunter ships won't. We when we see a shipwreck, we scavenge for artifacts. And we've found artifacts a bunch of times, and that's how we get really, really wealthy. Like, the wealth enough to like put your kid into Duskwall Academy, because you can't just like get a loan for that shit.
No,
If
no.
you're
It's
not
like
in the right position.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're selling cult artifacts to the elite so that we can get like a ton of fucking cash, and like we're living fairly wealthy.
Okay.
So you're like that like new money that wants to become old money kind of thing. Like your new money like from overseas, and you want to like break into your family like wants to break into this world of the aristocracy and stuff in Duskwall, because that's what you do if you're ambitious, right?
Right.
Yeah, we want to be an old family. We want a person on city council. This is what I've
Yeah.
grown up with.
All right. Yeah, I'm feeling it. Cool.
I'm feeling it. That helps a little bit with where I was kind of going through my background and stuff. I wanted you, I don't know if you're cool with it, I wanted you kind of to be a distant family member that like I had heard about doing things in Duskwall, so I'd like try to go and try to trace you, figure out what you were doing. I had heard that you kind of were vaguely successful. I'd saved enough back in the Dagger Isles to go and make my way there as an immigrant. But I ran out of money really quickly, and I did what a lot of them did, was just go into one of the labor factories. And I had an awful fucking time. And I desperately wanted to become this kind of academic. I wanted to sort of master my ability to kind of like communicate with the ghosts and stuff. Like I said, I'd already been pretty skilled at it, but Duskwall's ghosts were very different. And sort of I somehow found my way to you eventually, but really kind of grumpy.
Yeah.
After sort of like that suffering of like working in those factories, plus the suffering of the ghosts that I had heard about through Duskwall and stuff like that. So it's just like really angry. I imagine my character's quite of young too. I'm kind of looks up to your character a bit.
Okay.
That sounds awesome.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah.
And I think so. Have we figured out everyone then? Because Melody, we kind of talked about yours. Do you have any more to flesh out there?
No, I think the background, it's just like a case of the military background was, like a soldier, like professional or otherwise, or a bit of both. And like I think now, like I don't know what my character was doing when after first arriving, but I feel like, and this will depend on what we decide with the crew, but I feel like this is my character's day job, as it were. Like I don't have like a job. In the sense of I don't work in a factory or whatever. This like doing this newspaper, this activist stuff is now what I do.
Right.
Okay. So how old are we thinking your character is? Like, were you alive before the Unity War started, or were you born into war?
I think I was like probably born during it, or maybe just like a little bit before. So like young enough that I can't remember anything but war.
Yeah. Okay.
So like, war was 36 years long. It was a couple of years ago. So like 40 something, but like probably doesn't actually know an exact age because spent like 36 years of life being in a war. Like,
awesome. Okay.
and I assume that like it being a 36-year war it's not like, I guess, a modern war where it's like 36 years of having your house bombed or something. It's more like, the 100 Years' War or whatever, where they're like, there's periods of less war and more war, and like periods where there's two armies camped out in your city and they're just like kind of looking at each other and not really doing anything. It doesn't really like,
Yeah, it's because it's an industrial war. We know that it's after an industrial revolution, right? Or at least during an industrial revolution. So we're probably dealing with like the Boer War or maybe the Crimean War kind of thing.
So when it's starting to get like systematic and like trenches and like that kind of mass, like total war kind of stuff.
And if you think about that in a situation where if you don't have lightning barriers, you are swamped by ghosts. A war of trenches would be just horrifying.
Oh, God.
Like that.
Yeah, and the amount of casualties and everything.
Exactly.
Like,
so that also might be one of the reasons why it went for so long, because it's just logistically difficult to fight each other, right? Like because you've got to move the lightning barriers, you've got to figure out how to maneuver out from each other, and it would be a nightmare. Okay, cool. So that's the first 3 stages done of character creation. I think we should have a break now. We'll have a break until 8:30. So that gives us like 5 minutes. And then we will see you all back then. And yeah, okay. See you folks in 5
Awesome.
minutes.
Amazing.
See you soon.